Hey guys, welcome to Quirk Concepts 5. We are finally here. We finally got a video out. And first and foremost, I want to thank everyone for giving your guys' feedbacks and concepts from Concepts 4. We just got a lot of feedback on that, and I just want to say that I truly appreciate everything that you guys have been doing as far as supporting that. So continuing forward with Quirk Concepts 5 and potentially Quirk Concepts 6. Hoping that you guys continue to give us feedback, like the video, subscribe to the channel whenever we got a new video posted here. I got Mark with me, and
What's up?
we are looking at ideas that were posted from Quirk Concepts 4. We had from that last video, like, not for this video, but last time we had like 40 plus quirks already in the mix.
You guys gave us a lot.
2 hours. I'm thinking we should downsize it, but if you guys think otherwise, just let me know in the comments. I know that we had a ranking system, right? And previously, and I think it was kind of one of those things where it was like a yes or no type of thing in the past, where it's like, I'll take the quirk, or I'd rather be quirkless, or something like that. But I think that it'd be kind of cool if we had like a ranking system, like maybe like out of 10, something simple like that. But in the meantime, we'll just still go through the same process. That is, we go over people's submissions from the last video, and we just kind of talk about it in general. But I would say, in an effort to just kind of keep it concise, anyone who has like multiple postings, we can at least highlight like a favorite of ours, like out of the listings that they got. So I guess we will go ahead and get started. I got the list right here, and we're gonna go and start with Ladavian Douglas and his quirk breakdown. I'll go ahead and read it here. It's quirk breakdown. It can break down matter and turn it into these blue energy, which he recorrected as blue energy orbs that can work on humans or inanimate objects. But that's kind of everything that's laid out in that comment. I was making the note that it's kind of not really giving us a lot of information to work with that. I'm gonna assume because, you know, Dragon Ball is like the blue energy like orbs can be like ki blasts, they can like shoot off, right? But like
Exactly what I was thinking. Yes.
but like, is there anything else to it? Like, I was thinking,
Well,
like, could you make it? Is it just the orbs? Can you not reshape into anything else?
is it malleable?
Yeah, like, I mean, this is kind of spoilers later ahead for Super, but like, can you like transform into like a club, a hammer, a shield? Because that'd be cool.
Can you Goku Black that, make it into a sword or a
Yeah. That actually would be really cool. But I guess with that one, that just requires a little bit of elaboration. I'm assuming that there's also a limit too, just to how many you can just have out too.
So the fact that it can break down matter, that means you can really make it out of anything, whether it be from an opponent. You could literally take a chunk out of an opponent, or you could or just take it out of the ground.
That, yeah, like it depends. Like if you're a villain, that's a huge problem. But like if you're a hero, that causes like you to be very cautious about what you're using. Chances are,
if it's a life or death fight between a hero and a villain, and it's a hero's quirk, he can definitely get the job done.
it has to be done.
For a hero in that sense, it could work.
So, well, regardless, that quirk can be troublesome. I just wonder like what some drawbacks could be as well. But yeah, I would say otherwise, that's a good starting point for sure. Kind of like giving you an introduction of like what these concepts can be like. Definitely some elaboration could be greatly appreciated, but at the same time, like it keeps it pretty simplistic too, so I gotta give it props for that as well. The next one is another example of what we can do later on in the future. Xander has 2 quirks for us. I have a favorite, Mark has a favorite, so it looks like we're gonna highlight like both of them. I guess he started off with the first one, so I'll let you have that one.
Yes, Xander, out of the 2 that you gave us, I definitely preferred Enhance. The reason I preferred Enhance, first I'll read out what it can do. User can enhance one part of their body to indestructible superhuman level. For example, user can enhance one hand or one foot at a time. I do like that you balanced it out with at least having it be one limb per se. I think it keeps from being a little too OP. But then we get into the next part, which is the only issue I had with your first power quirk. It's to give more detail to the power of the enhancement. An enhanced hand of the user is strong enough to block a Detroit Smash from a Prime All Might with no effort. That's where I was like, okay, we're getting a little too OP here for just a second. That's where I was like, maybe if you train up to it, but
But my OC.
I was like, maybe if we train up to it, but let's start off with at least I feel like you'd at least take a little bit of damage from that.
Yeah, fair. I think
Like, I definitely think that this is the drawback includes the user can only enhance one body part at a time, and the user has to wait 5 seconds to enhance another body part. In that 5-second window, the user is not active till the other part is enhanced. The user's quirk is not active.
Yeah, I okay. That does make sense. I think mainly because like Naruto kind of comes to mind with like the human partial expansion, in that regard, and the time window for that one can be kind of the same as well, like a 5-second like window. And if your opponent's faster than you, then that could be proven like troublesome for you.
Although if you're strong enough that your blows lead them a little shell shock, those 5 seconds are all you need.
Exactly. So this is definitely one of those things where like the character like in question would have to be like really trained to even like deal those like types of like blows. But I would assume that it's something where the power enhancement like is slowly like built upon over time. Otherwise, if it's like a 12-year-old from the get-go and go like tanking All Might, that's scary.
I do think this quirk, if this quirk was awakened, it could definitely do some shit like that. Like an awakened version, I imagine the cooldown being like maybe 2.5 seconds, and that would be much more OP.
Oh man, I even consider like cooldown time too. I was really just over here thinking about the time that's like Spider-Man was introduced to the MCU and he literally catches like Winter Soldier's like fist. You got a metal arm? That's incredible.
It's incredible. And also just for him to have his moment in the spotlight, Xander said his super moves include foot enhanced jump, torpedo headbutt, and head God strike.
Okay. In that case, I'll go ahead and cover like the one that I favorited, which is a very simple one called the Rush. I love the dog. Anyway, the user can blitz forward in a straight line at an unstoppable force. The drawback, though, is that the user can't change directions like mid-blitz. They can only just stop. So it's a very simplistic one. I can't help but feel like I've heard that somewhere, whether I've thought about it like just off camera or it was said somewhere else, but like I just like that the simplicity of this one, because it really is one of those things where like developing it early on can be kind of an issue if you don't really know how to stop, because you really are this unstoppable force. I mean, like I guess a momentum kind of gets thrown off the window if it's just like you had incredibly high. Yeah, actually that's a good question too. Like what about the durability of the user?
I think that I like the way I picture this quirk, I picture it like a drag race.
Okay.
It can only go straight forward. And it's like it can only do that, but maybe the big question would be, because for me this is what I think of now since we know this is a thing in My Hero.
Yeah.
How much an awakening of a quirk can change or improve said quirk.
And I guess we also have to consider the fact that like some awakenings like only happen under certain like circumstances for a user. I would assume that everyone can have that, but like not everyone will go through that, just because it's just a matter of
it is a possibility.
It is always a possibility. But I think this is something where like, well, I guess like I think of blitzing like as like it also adds to speed, which I think it could be built on like later, but it could be one of those things where like the kid literally just runs forward and for some reason no one can really stop him.
Well, he can only stop himself.
Yeah, so he has to like literally stop at that point. And it might be something as simple as them just like actually just going through the motions, just stop, and it's normal. But for everyone else, it's something where it's like we can't actually stop him unless we call him to stop it.
Nonsense. We bring in the guy that's got enhanced, so let's put his hand forward, stop, and then he's boom runs into the enhanced fist.
Oh my god, unstoppable force meets that
an immovable object.
Oh my god, this is a quirk concept that has a crossover potential, like
big fact.
But yeah, I just love the simplicity of that. Like it's something that like if paired with other people could like get a job done, or it could just be something where like you won't ever really rely on it unless you need to. what was it? Discount at the store? No one saw me.
All right, and next one we have is Let's Talk, and
Let's
this
Talk's got two as
was
well.
my favorite of the two. Again, was probably the first one, which was yours.
Oh, which was mine? Oh, it was actually the second one. So I guess we're going to read out both of them.
Yeah, the first one was Quirk. It didn't really have a name, but it says Quirk, someone who can leave invisible marks anywhere which he can choose to detonate at any time. The marks,
The
sorry,
marks
are non-physical, meaning you can't feel them. Only the person with the quirk can see the marks. And of course, people are quick to point out this seems similar to Twin Impact, which
yes.
is a quirk, from a student of Class B.
Yeah.
However, I would like to point out a slight difference, meaning because Twin Impact, it is basically just a thing to where he could essentially just add another hit onto what has already been done.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with this, a detonation, I'm assuming this is an explosion.
Okay. I guess it wasn't really like elaborated on that up front, because like detonation like can just be an activation of something, but yeah.
I absolutely think this quirk combined with someone who's practiced martial arts could be absolutely devastating.
Oh my god, yeah. Well, I mean, like I feel the same about like the guy who uses Twin Impact as well. But yeah, like if it's a difference between like a blow like that's strengthened versus like an actual like explosion on like whatever marked, can be actually very crazy in hindsight.
Like just imagine beating someone's ass with martial arts, judo, throwing them over you, and then boom.
they slap you on the back and they go in for the throw. As you make impact on the ground, that's when it detonates.
They just turn around, you give a Power Rangers pose as they blow up.
Here we go. I'll go ahead and talk about the second aspect. This one had a name. It was called Airlift. In the comments, it says that you can fly as fast as a bullet train, only for as long as he or she can hold breath. And while flying, they have like a extra layer of durability to them. I was saying,
you got some good lungs.
Yeah, so I was looking at this and I was thinking that the durability part seems a little bit tacked on as far as just like what the quirk itself does, but I think if we like adjusted the name a little bit, I was thinking like if it's like a literal flying bullet train, then okay, I'll accept that. But other than that, like I actually really do like this one in the sense that like the condition is requiring you to hold your breath, because I mean bullet trains are pretty fast, but you can only go like so far, like if you really need to. So holding your breath,
it's like the speed of a bullet train with the durability of a freight train.
Yeah. So I think that it would be like a great power, but it's definitely something where it's like you need to actually practice that kind of stuff. Like you can see,
absolutely.
you'll see this person actually just trying to just like at the pool swimming instead.
Dude, could you imagine if the person who had this quirk was a smoker?
Listen,
why do you hate yourself?
Listen, that smoking was a choice. That was a choice. I would hope that like if you learned about your quirk, you would do something with it and not just like neglect it.
Yeah, agreed. And I think on the next one by Miss Kelly,
Miss Kelly,
her name is
Miss Kelly. Yes.
Kelly. I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name, Kelly. I'm sorry. I don't want to butcher it, so I'll just say Kelly. I think we both had our favorite of yours was probably the shoulder pads.
Yes. So Kelly actually had 3 quirks here, but my personal favorite was the third one, which is shoulder pads. I'll go ahead and read this one here. The user is able to summon halos from their shoulders, which can be controlled by their mind, which can be controlled when a group of men come into the bathroom and proceed to sing the halo theme. But no, they can be controlled with your mind. They're very durable. They can be used for flight, hitting people, or for capture. And they can also disappear on command. However, to make these halos, it needs to be charged under sunlight, meaning that the user needs to stay in sunlight for a long period of time after use. What's more, if you create like 6 of them at a time, it could be a little bit harder to focus on controlling them. So there's a limit on how many you can control at once. And there's also like a time limit as well. So you definitely would benefit on like doing like your stuff like during the daytime, and at night you have to be very careful about how you use it. Probably once.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that the potential with this quirk is you could literally use it like the 10 rings.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Could you not?
I didn't even like conceive that like as a like an idea, but you're kind of right. Like maybe
I just thought about it. I was like, wait a minute, that works like the 10 rings.
maybe it could just be like Shang-Chi and the 6 rings.
Quirk awakens. I have 10.
Oh my god. Okay. All right. I see you. The Quirk Awakening Shang-Chi. All right. I think. Oh my god. You are really right about that. I didn't even. But they come out of your shoulders.
Hey man, you gotta load up from somewhere.
You gotta load it up somewhere. Do they only come out from your shoulders? It's like they're organic, right? We have to make our own shoulder rings.
We can make our own shoulder rings, man. These are organic. These are grass-fed shoulder rings.
It's like telling me how to breathe. Like I just do.
Mm-hmm. And it's used for flight, hitting people, and capturing. So it's kind of like if you mix Shang-Chi's. It's like if you mix Shang-Chi's 10 rings with the Galactic Donuts.
Oh yeah, Galactic Donut. No, honestly, when I saw flying and like these like Halo things that you create, I was really thinking Static Shock. I really was thinking that.
Superhero Static Shock. Woo woo.
Which is still like the coolest thing. You literally just did get like a trash bin lid.
Yep. So, either that or the fucking manhole cover.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. Yeah. I just love the idea. I'm just imagining this hero too. Just having
I think it'd be really cool.
I think the costume design has potential too.
Oh, absolutely. Like I feel like there could be a really cool setup for this one.
We go over to a regular Corey Brown with the 5 rings. I'm sorry, quirks.
We gotta talk about you, Jcory. You put in way too many OP quirks, my guy.
Let's talk about our favorite, life. No.
Life. I just want to read out life just so people. The user has immortality, invulnerability, and regeneration, and he can't feel pain. How is there a downside?
I'll tell you, Mark. Emotional damage.
Emotional damage. I'm just saying, the only downside I could see is if he has depression. I have to live it.
I mean, that's the poeticness of it. I mean, like, if we're gonna be really serious, like, living forever will come with that later on. But otherwise, if that's all you got, I mean, the only thing you can do is to literally risk your life for others, knowing that you'll regenerate. Like
some undead unluck type of shit.
Yeah, like literally going to house fires and that's it. Like,
that's okay. I'm only burning.
It's okay. Just don't mind the smelling.
And of course, there's a few more, but out of all of them, now you see, the only reason I'm not going with the first one is because I thought the first one is way too strong.
Okay,
I thought the first one is just broken as shit.
I understand that.
So I think I'll go with detective.
Oh, okay. Detective had like a couple of had a follow up comment on that one, but go ahead.
Yes, detective is a quirk, which it's pretty much as it would say. Imagine it's basically it will allow the user to gain knowledge, genius level intelligence, and to show cause and to show to solve cases. My bad. And it will also put you in the place of the killer, meaning basically you could use this to look into scenes of the crime. Basically, it's also to figure out all the motives and reason behind said things. So it's very much an insight type of quirk. It kind of like with this one, like, because here's the thing, with this one, it also heavily reminded me of Night Eye's quirk.
Oh yeah, actually, that is true.
It did a more in-depth analysis.
Because Night Eyes like was kind of like broken within its own right too, but
it was definitely handy for detective work.
Something like that does exist. And
so a hero with this could literally catch anybody. They could immediately figure it out.
They can solve like all crime.
Yep, they could at least figure that out. Like I because that's the only downside with your entries, Corey, is that I don't see many downsides.
Well, I think it's one of those things where like we end up having to like come up with like on our own as well. Because like it's kind of the standard for like the My Hero universe is that like there's always a drawback for a lot of quirks, unless there's like selective like quirk crossing.
And of course, he said with detective, you don't become the killer. It just puts you in the places.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like the Moody Blues from JoJo.
Just think of detective vision, and you're good.
Yep.
I would say like the first one, which I ended up like liking like more than all the other ones, is actually the one they chose not to because it came off as like very, very overpowered, and that's Fuse. Initially when I read this, I thought he meant like short fuse, but no, he actually means like cross fusion stuff.
Fusion.
Ha. What? Sorry, I was thinking Piccolo's face afterwards.
The blush.
The twitch.
He's just like,
Just to kind of like summarize it, Fuse kind of functions kind of like, I guess, Todoroki's quirk, but you always have to be holding on to two specific objects from two other quirk users. This quirk essentially has you quirkless, right? But you have the ability to utilize other people's quirks. But in order to activate like this quirk, you need to have a situation where you have like both like things that belong to that quirk user. So the best
having
example,
a physical thing of like blood, hair, any kind of DNA.
Yeah, so I guess like the best like example is to literally pluck someone's hair from one quirk user and another from another, and you can utilize these quirks together. We don't really talk about the caveats of like both of them, but you're able to use both. But
this man literally said like you could use one for all and all for one at the same time, and I was like, you really going OP right now, dude.
I mean, that's if they allow that. I think those two are smart enough to say like, "Hey, yo, like that's not how we're gonna do it." But
on top of that, one for all does. I mean, all for one doesn't have any hair.
He has them blood.
He got that blood.
Just good luck in that.
Right.
But I like the idea like of this quirk because it requires you to actually hold on to this object, and if it isn't blood, you actually have to actively hold it. So if it's a situation where you're holding two hair strands, you have to keep those, like you have to hold on to these two and never let go of them. Otherwise, if you drop one, the entire quirk doesn't work. So like for example, I guess let's take like Uraraka's like hair strand, and you got Ida's hair like over here. You can go super fast, you can make things float. But you can't like lose your grip on any one of them because you'll lose that speed, you'll lose the floatability, and you can like really find yourself in a very precarious situation otherwise. So I think, and you know, I'm not even thinking about the idea of like strapping things like by tape like across your hand. But I like the idea that it's a very specific type of requirement that you need to do in order to activate the quirk. Otherwise, I agree, that can be like incredibly broken, especially if you had something that's like I mean something as simple as like Snipe's quirk. I mean, like you just have to like hold one finger down for like, or even just have like a piece of blood and you just have like a gun in that hand. It's like, oh well, that ended that arc really quickly. All right.
All right. Well.
But yeah, like I just personally like that like specific requirement because sometimes like these like quirks require that. Like remember, I mean, this is kind of like a shoe-in quirk like later on, but remember the hero's licensing exam, the girl that drinks tea.
Oh.
Like, how do you even figure that out?
I'm pretty sure she's an anime. She's an anime original.
Yeah.
Fairly certain.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that she like is anime only because otherwise, like, how in the world do you figure it? It's like my idea of like Deku actually had like shadow clone jutsu, but you have to use the hand sign, and who in the world would know how to use that hand sign?
Someone who studied a lot.
A lot of ninjutsu. They had a lot of time on their hands, and they just decided to try to mimic it, and all of a sudden, I got shadow clones.
Mm-hmm. They said, "There's more of me."
Oh my god, I figured I had a quirk. The next one is a lot of like multiples like submitted. How many were there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Honi's shark. Oh, I wonder who that is.
Honi shark.
Honi shark had like 7 quirk concepts submitted. I had a favorite. Mark, did you have one?
Um,
There was a lot to review on this one, but I came down to
there
like one.
was, and although I like how funny Lucky Assumption could be,
Me too.
because you just think of King from like he said they even point out like, it's like King.
Yeah, as I was reading that, like that's what came into my mind immediately.
Saitama, help me please. But it was I think I might agree with you on yours because I think like, that one has the most like
Utility.
actual potential.
Yeah, I also think not just potential, but it's just like it just makes sense, like for the quirk. Um, I'll give the details right now. The quirk is called Photo Storage Supply. This
Please
quirk,
tell me it gives the person who uses it on red eye.
I'm not sure about that. This quirk, this quirk at first would seem like a weak quirk, but evolves rather quickly. But it would look like just a regular camera in your eyes at first. This quirk allows you to take a photo with the person's eye to store the contents of the photo in an imagery like space. The user can pull out the contents of the photo and use it in any way that they want, depending on their perception of it. This quirk also gives instant photo info on anything that's in that photo, which allows that user to have like just essentially a photographic memory, and as well as like just generally good vision, like 2020. Here's another thing: if a photo of a target, or if you take a photo of a target, they get a full pause for 1 second, and in that pause, the user can do whatever they want, and the perception of the user or the affected target is frozen for that 1 second. I think that might be tacked on, but I can see like a little bit of like how that can be a little bit busted as like just a fighting thing. But for now, I kind of like focus on mainly like the photo memory of it because that just makes sense. So I just like particularly liked it for just being as like kind of like obvious for what it is. They also said something here too. If more images you stored, they can keep track of is there, then it'll be a lot more hard for you to focus on that specific like thing in space. The harder to remember the pick, the harder it is to pull out like what it is. And if not focused, you could pull out something else instead. So it's there's quite a bit of limitation there. So, and I'm assuming that like better fully developed, you'll expand your storage, your cloud storage.
Expand your cloud storage.
Listen, Google's been telling me, and I'm not moving.
Google's been telling me, and I ain't moving.
But yeah, I did look at all the other ones, and there's a fair amount of detail given to each and every one of them. I did like Lucky Assumption as a second favorite.
Literally, just it's like domino. It's like domino mixed with
yes, I was thinking like, yeah, that's Deadpool 2, Domino.
Is luck a superpower? Luck's not a superpower. It is. I don't know. Maybe it's not.
It turns out it was.
And next, truly, the most intricate of all quirks from Steve.
From Steve. Fish.
We all just go at the same time. Fish.
Fish. You become a fish. That's it.
That is all.
Do sharks and whales count as fish? Sharks. Yeah, sharks.
And sharks are fish. Whales are mammals.
Yeah. Seahorse and dolphins apparently count as fish, and everyone else doesn't. So I mean,
like it's anything that's actually considered a fish. Whales are technically mammals.
Mm-hmm.
They can just hold their breath for a long amount of time, and that's why they have the blowhole up top to breathe.
Right. Form of a giant shark. Form of a bucket of water.
Form of a bucket of water.
Beware my power. But that's fair. Honestly, like as simplistic as like the quirk concept is, like it actually could have a use. I mean, like we have like those that have like aquatic like features to them that allow them to like better swim in the water, whether that just be Froppy or that one hero that she like work study under for a little bit. Yeah, so I mean it works. But I guess we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next one, right? This is from Zay. Zay has a lot. How many? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, 7. I
Yeah,
definitely.
Zay had a lot, and a few of them were edgy as shit.
What would be your favorite?
Honestly, my favorite out of them, I think, might have been his first one, because I think the first one actually could be pretty sick in terms of just what I can see it doing, which is kinetic boost.
Oh, I mean like Fajin.
Like Fajin, yes, it's very similar in the idea.
Mm-hmm.
With kinetic, it's about. So let's read this description he gave us real quick.
Okay.
The user's body is like a living battery that creates and passively absorbs kinetic energy. With this quirk, the user is able to manipulate immense amounts of kinetic energy freely. Abilities: kinetic empowerment, which allows the user to increase their physical abilities and senses by empowering themselves with kinetic energy. They can even use the kinetic energy to accelerate their brain and make themselves smarter, basically stimulating your brain, which is actually not a bad idea. Kinetic flight, kinetic healing, which allows the user to heal themselves and others around them using this energy, which is an interesting concept, I guess.
Yeah, actually.
Motion control, which allows the user to control all motion around him in a 3-mile radius. Getting kinetic energy, I mean, that is a very strong power he's dealing with.
Motion man.
Motion man. Kinetic force fields and blast. And let's look at the drawback of this power. The main drawback of kinetic boost is the strain it puts on the user. If their body hasn't been through the proper training to handle the immense power of the quirk, the user could potentially break every bone in their body if they don't correctly channel the kinetic energy through the body properly. So it's a lot about, kind of like, you know how what Iroh taught Zuko.
Yeah, I was
about
gonna
lightning?
say. Oh, you mean like lightning control?
No, it's like you got to channel it properly through your body.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think it's very fair. And I feel like this very good idea, very strong, because people underestimate the power of kinetic energy. Might I remind you, a weapon idea for the military years ago, the rods of God. It was a orbital weapon that you would load a tungsten rod into and let it fall to the target through the atmosphere.
Oh my god.
All of that kinetic energy resulting in a blast the size of a nuke without the nuclear fallout. That's all kinetic energy. That's where I'm like, okay, this could be very powerful, considering he can just his body is just a big kinetic battery.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that he's constantly generating force.
Yeah, but you always have to be like conscious about like how you're using it and where it goes. So it definitely keeps in that perspective. Literally, this person literally going to day to day, especially at PE. Everyone, don't touch Jimmy. Okay, no one touch Jimmy.
Don't touch him.
Lloyd, I see what you're doing in there. Don't touch Jimmy. I swear to God.
Aizawa gotta keep his eyes on him at all times.
Connor, that's the 4th time you had to go to the health center. How many times do I tell you not to touch Jimmy?
Stop touching Jimmy.
I guess like my favorite ended up being Poison Pulse, which is an emitter type. I'll go ahead and read.
Sounds like a Pokemon move.
Yeah, it does. The description: the user has the ability to secrete the most toxic poisons like from their for their bodies. They can also manipulate, create, and become poison. I can be the poison for Cusco. Poison for Cusco.
Cusco's poison.
You're immune to any type of poison. You can replicate any poison if you eat it. He also has something about poison gas creation, which causes hallucination, paralysis, blindness, headaches. He also talks about poison construct creation, mainly just blades, giant hands, bullets, and armor. I'm just gonna say it like real quick, like if it's exactly what I'm reading it as like actually constructing those types of things, I don't think that should be a thing. More so you can at least lace things with poison, but other than that, like I don't think, aside from like making poisonous gas, I don't think there's anything else you can like create with poison. But I guess poison healing something, I mean, that's literally straight out of Pokemon, right? Like toxic stuff like for poison types will literally heal it. You drain toxin out of a person's body, but you have to be careful because of the drawbacks is that you cannot be touched. You risk poisoning everybody near you. You can't eat normal food, just poison. You have to actually wear a special suit that prevents you from poisoning whatever you come in contact with which the reason
could get the poison for Tuska.
the reason that I picked this as a favorite because I can only imagine the life that they have to live like in a standard UA setting, and they just have like a suit on them. They still communicate with like everyone else, but like they have very specific parameters. It's kind of like oh shoot, it was like Tali in Mass Effect, where she like had like the mask on at all times, but she could still like communicate with people. She just had an entire suit on, and so I was like, oh okay, yeah, I can see it, and I kind of liked it for it. So that was a personal favorite of mine. We got the next one down here. I believe this is from Joseph. The Quirk Concepts Extinction, but I'm actually gonna go ahead and go with like MB's like summarization of it.
Oh yeah, I thought exactly what he said.
In the way that he described it is that you can really take the DNA of other things that you pick up on and take pretty much the form of that. My favorite thing was the fact that they mentioned like you can like eat some of like Ochako's hair and produce the finger beans that she's got.
I mean, he's not wrong.
To make contact with things and make them weightless. I was like, oh, okay. So that's how it works.
They aren't wrong.
They aren't wrong, but that's so funny. I never even considered them as finger beans.
They do look like beans.
What helped kind of like summarize like what it was the fact that like you eat turtle meat and you just have a turtle shell. So I mean, it really is exactly like Amagachi's like quirk. You just eat it, and it's like it's now like somewhere else, and you can like store that kind of stuff. So
munch, 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 munch.
A lot of prep involved with that quirk. I don't really have much to say about that quirk, especially since it's so close to that one. But I guess a question is like, can that person use like different quirks like at a time or abilities? So I guess that's just like the thing in question. I think the next thing we can go ahead and follow up with is this user super sleepy. So this one's actually a pretty straightforward one, and you'll find a clear like similarity with other quirks along, or even just abilities from like other like hero works. It's called Primal Rage. User will become a ginormous dinosaur when they become enraged.
I was like, well then.
Right. The downside is that whilst in Primal Rage form, the user is just blinded by hate and will cause mayhem until they get the task done. But if the user is skilled enough to control their anger, they can turn into their Primal Rage form without being blinded by anger and causing mayhem. I see this quirk idea for most other like beast type quirks, and that makes sense. I get it for sure, but I pretty much like keep it like synonymous with the Incredible Hulk. That's just simply how it is. I don't have any issues with like this, and the drawbacks are pretty straightforward to the point where like it's significant enough you don't need to like add more to it. So I'm totally fine with this quirk. It's interesting that it's just like it's a dinosaur.
He's a dinosaur.
Any dinosaur, actually.
Any dinosaur.
Any of them. Obviously, the biggest one would probably be like a T-Rex, just like as a good example, but it could really just be, it could be a Stegosaurus.
A Stegosaurus?
Or it could just be Littlefoot.
A long neck.
But no, it's actually just Littlefoot. I guess they did like specify it's ginormous, so it can't be Littlefoot. So all right, all right, you got me. We can't make any fun of it. So shout outs to Dr. Sandwich here with the next one. It's called electromagnetic generator. Essentially this quirk allows you to become just like a whole generator for electrical energy. A lot of it gets emitted like through your hands and your arms. There are a lot of similarities to this, like to Kaminari. There's a lot of similarities with this and was a Mikoto from a certain scientific railgun, specifically in the department of clinging on or floating like onto objects, and also like magnets and whatnot.
Oh yeah, people don't realize people don't understand the power of electromagnets.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't like electromagnets can sling a projectile at speeds of up to like Mach 7.
Yeah, nothing to really mess with. And also like shooting EMP shots, which I feel like would be like a power developed later on, but pretty much this has like the whole package when it comes to just like I guess Well, just having like a grasp on like electricity. This is like pretty much everything that like any user would want as far as just having like that sheer control. I think, what did I say here too? They talked about like stimulations to greatly enhance speed. They also talked about like strength and durability. I'm not entirely sure about that one, but I totally understand speed. The levitation thing by creating electromagnetic field, I totally get that. I think, what was the drawback here? If Quirk was overused without taking care of the arms here, they actually do get damaged. So you just have to control like your output, because otherwise like you are resistant, but you're not immune.
Resistant, but not immune.
I think it's like a super strong move, but it's like I think about static as well when I see this one. So it's like, yeah, I totally get it. Actually, has Static ever tried to like shoot a projectile like that? Because holy shit, you don't need a gun. I am the gun.
Next, we have Red Cyndaquil, who gave us around 6 ideas.
Oh, there are 6. Okay. I had 2, but I think I stuck with like 1. The one that I picked was Sports Arms.
Yes, see, I was a fan of Galactic Star.
That's fair. Yeah. Honestly, like since I saw like these different quirks, like such as like camera lens, for example, from like the filler introductory for one of the seasons for My Hero, I just assumed like you could really just make any quirk out of anything. So I did look at Galactic Star. I thought that was cool, but I was so intrigued by Sports Arm. Sports Arm allows the user to transform anything under the knee and elbow into a sport equipment. Things like even like bike wheels or rollerblades. You can even like create like ball items such as like footballs and bowling balls that can be thrown. I will say though, one little thing that they added at the end was kind of like confusing to me as to like why it was. But essentially what they were saying was that things such as like a football and a bowling ball can be thrown and aimed by the user. But while this is happening, the user has transparent red hands and feet that act like real hands and feet. I'm like, wait, what's...
It's like a visual effect. It's just a visual effect.
Oh, all right. Gotcha. All right. Is this part of the aesthetic? Okay, I get it.
Like, I think it could be a way. It could just be a way to let you know the quirk is active.
Oh, okay. I do like it though. Like it's so out there that I'm totally in for it.
I can respect how out there it is. I was a fan, but like you said, I myself was a fan of Galactic Star. The user has tattoos in their body that can generate star-shaped projectiles. These have the light level and heat of stars, like literal stars, and their trajectory can be chosen by the user. That's fucking cool.
So would they be tattoos or would they be like birthmarks?
I'm going to assume they're birthmarks that look like tattoos.
Okay. Because could you imagine? Could you imagine they have like 80 appointments for like just tattoos?
80 appointments for just tattoos.
They have a whole sleeve, and the entire sleeve just shoots stars.
If they get more tats, does that mean they could use more of their quirk?
That's what I want to know. Like, it kind of sounds like you could take advantage of it. But then, like, it's one of those things where if it's an actual tattoo and not like a birthmark, like, how would you know? How would you ever
I'm assuming that it's that they're birthmarks that look just like tattoos.
That would make the most sense, because otherwise, like, tattoos can be removed, if not, like, who's to say, does it have to be, like, a permanent tattoo? What if it's just literally a permanent marker that you put on yourself?
Mm-hmm. On top of that, to keep in mind that these tattoos probably illuminate when using the quirk, so they light up, and he can basically shoot stars. He can shoot hot glowing plasma.
My God. Hey, Star, can you light up the room? Yeah, sure. Just be careful. Just be careful. Okay. All right, we're evacuating the building.
Everything is on fire. This is fine.
This is fine. Everyone get out.
But I think that you could definitely do a lot of cool stuff with Galactic Star.
I like the idea as a concept. Like, this is something you could definitely like design a character based off of and just like go crazy with it.
I think it could make a really cool character design.
Well, Mark, I think we're on to the last Quirk Concepts.
And this is a regular here. This is a man who always gives us a highly detailed quirk.
Shouts to MB.
MB, you're a real one. You always come at us with something actually really, really well thought out, and really just like, we're just like, how the fuck did this man think of this?
MB has done us like due justice by giving us a fully detailed like listing, but keeps it as organized as humanly possible. I'll try to sum it up like in my own words, but the quirk is called Amalgamate. An Amalgamate is a take on One for All and All for One's as far as the lineage of it, but and also the sense of like utilizing multiple quirks, but it deals with this through the mixture of blood and DNA to allow different types of abilities to surface over someone's lifetime. The idea is that you mix the blood primarily through like injection into the bloodstream or even just an open wound, and then you can start the process of cultivating this quirk. The problem is that you don't really have a control over whether or not this is going to be a copy or a hybrid of something. It's just based on other people's DNA that you transfer over to yourself. And the drawback for that is that these quirks would then take years to become like part of you, and the drawbacks of each and every one of them becoming assigned to you as you get older. This could lead to a bunch of different like scenarios, but essentially the crazy thing about this quirk is really just the idea that it is following the same path as like say Deku, but the problem is that you have no notes of like these quirks, nor do you know when they'll activate whatsoever. So it's yeah, it is like it's the randomizer.
It's the Nuzlocke run.
The Nuzlocke randomizer. Like it's what you see is what you get. And sometimes you don't even see it either. That is essentially like the dirty version here. But it is like something to really think about, because you gotta wonder, like, you know, this is pretty much like what the doctor has been dealing with as far as this like all these different like quirks to try to like cultivate and try to like inject into like nomus and stuff like that. So I mean, like, it's a lot of things to consider, and the fact that it's so closely like tied in with like All for One and One for All makes it like one of those like crazy broken quirks, but also in the sense that like you can't really control, like for example, like if you're really like aging with the same cast of characters in class 1A, chances are you only have like one if not two quirks on you. So this person could literally just blend in with the whole class and not even know that they'll have other quirks happening inside them. They're not like Deku, where it's like because of plot he'll show multiple signs of quirks later on.
And it's like, oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, it'll just happen where like it could really just be a Mirio scenario where he literally just like phases down to the entire like rooms and not know what to do. So I
all clothes.
Yeah, with all clothes. But yeah, like again, I really appreciate like the detail like this added in here. There's definitely a lot more. I'm definitely putting this up here like in front of the screen just for everyone else to read.
This man got way too many details for us to say.
Yeah, honestly, like if you had any questions, I highly advise like checking up on those like comments and replying back to those. This one is kind of like a nice way to kind of like wrap things up. It really is just like a different take on the One for All and All for One. And I think I can actually really see it as kind of like a spin-off type of thing, honestly, where it's just like, you know, it's a different character. It's a what if, like maybe it's even like All for One and they just didn't know they had that type of quirk that takes other quirks away.
He just takes a handshake, someone becomes quirkless. Oh my god, what happened? What happened?
I shook this guy's hand and everything I see now just kind of frozen in place. I don't even know what's going on.
He just run up. He's quirkless. He run up. What?
What? Not the Mickey Mouse quirk. I think that's pretty much it. We definitely had like a very much so controlled like size of comments this time around, and I appreciated looking at each and every one of them, picking out favorites actually, like out of like a multitude. So I think going forward, the only thing I would advise for people who want to like jump in on this, because at this point I'm pretty sure that we'll have a Quirk Concept 6 in the future.
Let's go!
Yeah, definitely keep those coming. I personally love the unique ones for sure to read off of, because just kind of get you like thinking about them. But I mean, by all means, just put in like your favorite stuff, and we'll definitely give it a look at. A little slight gripe for me. Just know that you don't have to rush yourself when you put on these comments, because you might want to check your grammar, your spelling, and everything. You know, just
put in a drawback.
You know, run this under Grammarly.
Grammarly is like, you spelled this wrong, and why is there no drawback?
Yeah. Actually, we work closely with Grammarly to actually include drawbacks.
This video brought to you by Grammarly. No, just kidding.
No, it's not. But yeah, no. Also, yeah, the drawbacks as well. Like, one of the rules for My Hero is essentially there's always like a drawback to everything, unless it's like it's a cross. And by all means, you can also do that too. Like, if it's a cross between like two parents, and they kind of like coincide and they counteract like both each other's like downsides in a certain way, then by all means. But yeah, otherwise, we would otherwise just think of like what the drawbacks would be for that quirk, just naturally, and see how they would fit in the My Hero universe. But yeah, I would say that's pretty much it. Mark, were there any last things you wanted to say in regards to Quirk Concepts, or just anything that we've read so far?
Keep them coming, guys. These are really good. My only thing is, remember, we can come up with downsides, but if you want to put in a quirk, I'd heavily prefer if you guys at least give us your version of a downside first.
Mm-hmm. Also, it's been a hot minute. Can someone just like randomly input like their OC like timeline into the My Hero universe too, so I can read it? Please.
Dude, I was there when you guys did the live stream for that. That shit was hilarious.
Oh my god.
Dude, I was in the comments dying. I'm like, but he likes Sue, but he likes Sue, but don't worry, she also likes him. And I'm like, what the? How is that part of the concept?
Because it is true. Trust me. Source, do just trust me.
Trust me, the OC's backstory is very important.
It's very important for the development of this quirk. Trust me, because it deals with feelings.
It deals with feelings like love,
which at times it kind of does. You know.
You're right. Sometimes, though. Sometimes.
Remember La Brava? Like it just takes that much, you know. I guess we're good here. So thank you guys so much for tuning in for another episode of Quirk Concepts. Here's to hoping for a sooner release of Quirk Concepts 6, but we'll keep our eyes peeled and we'll just check out how the comments are for this one and also the previous one. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope to see you guys in the next Quirk Concepts video. So yeah, #bye everyone.
Hurry up.